We now welcome the AP's very own Ralph Russo. Ralph, here at Media Day, what is the biggest story that you're tracking here this year?
You know, I'm interested to see who might emerge as the new stars out of the conference this year. Last year, there were headliners coming into this to a certain degree with Mackenzie Milton was being touted as a Heisman Trophy winner, possibility. Ed Oliver was a guy who everybody knew was going to be a first-round draft pick. So there was some star quality to start last year, and I guess I wonder who will be the new stars to emerge out of the conference this year.
Ralph, UCF is really good, as we know. USF got off to a great start last year. Cincinnati is on the rise. The West is always tough. But is it still UCF's conference to lose?
You know, I don't think so, and I know the UCF fans, I'm sure, will want to, jump out the window hearing that. I mean, they haven't lost a regular season game in 2 years. I do think that the uncertainty at quarterback, not just with having lost Mackenzie Milton to the injury last year, but now Darryl Mack is out. I think there was already a competition between Mack and Brandon Wimbush. Maybe Wimbush would have emerged from that competition as the starter, but now it looks like it's probably going to be Wimbush or bust. So there's enough uncertainty there just to change over and see if that defense can be a little more productive. And I think the other reason why I don't think it's necessarily UCF's a given is how well Cincinnati played last year and what Luke Fickell has done with that program, especially on the defensive side. So as good as UCF has been over the last couple of years, they will have pressure. They will have competition within, whether it's Cincinnati or Temple, even within that division, there'll be some pressure on them to win another division.
When you look at the West Division, one of the best quarterbacks in the country returns at Houston in De'Ara King. He's healthy, he's back, but they have a new coaching staff with Dana Holgorsen. How do you expect that program to adjust and keep that momentum rolling this year?
You know, it would seem to be a perfect fit. Dana Holgorsen is one of the better offensive coaches you'll find in the country. He's creative. He comes from an air raid system where it's not going to be so drastically different from what De'Ara King had excelled so well in last year with Major Applewhite. So you would think that this is a perfect situation where a player who emerged last year, we talk about emerging stars, that was a guy who we didn't quite see coming at the beginning of the season, but boy did he emerge as maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the country before his injury. How does he recover from the injury? But I think that the coaching change shouldn't hold him back. The coaching change, if anything, should help him.
Ralph, USF started 7-0, and then they struggled the rest of the way. Does that struggle bode well for them coming into this year, or is it a sign that they may be fundamentally flawed heading into this season?
Listen, I don't think necessarily Charlie Strong is on the hot seat. I don't want to suggest that. But it is an interesting year, right? I mean, he came into a sort of a ready-made situation a couple of years back, and they won 10 games. Last year, a step back, especially down the stretch. So I think there's a lot of it's easy to look at UCF or USF and say, what are they? What do they want to be under Charlie Strong? Can they get more out of Blake Barnett, a very talented quarterback? What do they want to be offensively? They've made some changes on that side of the ball. So it's a pivotal year for Charlie Strong, again, not so much to the fact that he's on the hot seat, but just as sort of establishing this as his program, and what does that look like, as opposed to, hey, I've inherited this program from Willie Taggart, and we're still trying to figure out what my identity is going to be.
Ralph, we've seen Memphis and UCF in back-to-back years in the American Championship game. Early prediction for this year?
My sense with this conference is there's always going to be a team like Cincinnati did last year that will emerge as a contender that you didn't necessarily see coming. So you ask me, well, who is that? Well, it's hard to see it coming, right? I do think Navy has a possibility of getting its act back together. I can't see Navy being bad 2 years in a row. They've made some changes with the defensive coordinator that should help. I'm a little bit evasive on your question. I think I would pick Cincinnati in the East and Memphis in the West again. Houston is certainly going to challenge Memphis, but I think I would go Cincinnati and Memphis. And the funny thing is I picked Memphis to win the conference last year, and really there were only a few handfuls of plays from doing it.
Leads, they'd be okay.
Right, they would actually have one. I might be inclined to say this is finally the year Memphis gets it done.
All right, well, there you have it. All of our predicting and wondering what will happen in 4 to 5 months down the road. Ralph, thank you so much for your time. We are going to send it to a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.